Okay.
So here's our next question by the theist. If all Christians believed that the Bible was entirely allegorical, what would you argue in support of your position?
Why would any God of the universe use a book, presumably written through men, humans, by his influence, so that we can have truth when that book must be distributed all over the world for people who presumably are accountable to respond to the truth that is in that book, to go to either heaven or hell? It does not make sense to me. Why use a book? Why can't the God who made the universe directly communicate with me rather than using some old book that I have to believe what was given reliably through the hands of humans?
So let's also address the question with regards to its emphasis on the allegory or the hypothetical allegory of Scripture. Mm-hmm. So the problem that I have is we could take any body of writings and approach it with the allegorical perspective. I mean, we could say Macbeth is an allegory. Shakespeare's mm-hmm. Macbeth. We could say, Beowulf is an allegory. And the problem is that if Scripture is simply an allegory, then how can it be substantiated as being representative of reality? There would have to be some evidence behind it that would establish the authority of that body of writing as the allegory representing the reality of that God and his interaction with humans and our origins and whatnot. So the problem is that once you believe, and this is a significant problem that Christians face, is that once you believe the Bible is allegory, then you have completely stripped of it the core, with regards to our accountability to the God of that allegory. Because if it's allegorical, then I can say my accountability is allegorical as well, and I could just simply say, okay, well, we're told, not to partake of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and okay, well, that's allegory for the decisions I make in life, and the death that ensues may be allegorical. Okay, well, what does that mean? Mm-hmm. It may mean my sorrow. Maybe I can, a lot of poets attribute, sorrow, or they equate sorrow and death of the soul, and you could say that allegorically is how we interpret it. Mm-hmm. So the problem with allegory is that its interpretation is subject to a non-rigorous system that is subject to the individual's perception mm-hmm. of it. And once you get into that realm, then who's to say the allegory says one thing or the other?
Mm-hmm. If you were to ask Christians what would happen if the Quran was to be entirely allegorical, it would have no impact on their ideology.
Absolutely not.
So the Bible being entirely allegorical doesn't affect my position at all.
It doesn't affect mine either. And I don't think that we have to argue in support of our position against the concept of allegory, because first of all, for a true Christian to believe that the Bible story is allegorical is, to me, an affront to the teachings mm-hmm. that are presented in Scripture mm-hmm. itself. Right. Either you go 100% into it, or you play around with it on the fringe, But
But there is an attempt by Christians these days to try to suggest more and more of the Bible is allegorical. Now hell is being dismissed by even many evangelicals.
yeah,
So there is this push is to make the Bible more palatable to a changing society, changing values in society. So, but that's happened throughout all the ages, where people backtrack as soon as social pressure pushes a little bit. Yeah,
as soon as science tells us differently.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Then they try to bend it. Okay, the creation story. Oh, it's an allegory.
That's right.
Yeah, makes sense.
8. If all Christians believed that the Bible was entirely